Have you ever been there? You see one of these incredible Cymbidium orchids. You bring it home, and then you're just frustrated because it refuses to bloom a second time. Well, if that sounds familiar, you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're going to crack the code on how to care for one of the most spectacular orchids you can possibly grow.
You know, they call this thing the king of winter. And wow, it really earns that title. I mean, think about it. While pretty much every other flower is asleep for the winter, the Cymbidium puts on this absolutely regal, magnificent show with blooms that last for ages. It is a true showstopper.
But here's the thing, right? The question that drives so many of us crazy. You bring this amazing plant home, it's covered in flowers, and then a year goes by and nothing. It looks healthy, the leaves are green, so what gives? Why are the flower spikes playing hard to get? That is the big mystery we are going to solve today.
So here's our game plan to get you from frustration to flowers. First, we'll meet the king of winter. Then we'll decode its light signals, unlock the secret of the autumn chill, get its food and water right, cover health and hygiene, and finally, we'll put it all together so you can earn your orchid's crown.
All right, first things first, we have to get to know this plant. I mean, really get to know it. Before we even talk about light or water, we need to understand where it comes from, because its basic nature is the key that unlocks, well, everything else.
Okay, here is the one word you really have to remember: semi-terrestrial. Now, unlike a lot of the orchids you might be used to, the ones that cling to trees, Cymbidiums don't do that. They grow down in the rich, moist soil on the forest floor, and that one little fact changes everything. It tells us how to water them, what kind of pot to use, and what to feed them.
So, which kind do you have? There are the giant classic standards, which are just incredible. But for a lot of us, the really important one to know about is the miniature. And don't let the name fool you. Their biggest advantage isn't just their size, it's their tolerance for heat. That makes them a way better choice if you're growing indoors or you live somewhere warm. Now for our first big secret, light. And this is the amazing part. Your orchid literally tells you what it needs. Its leaves are like a perfect little dashboard. You just have to learn how to read the signals it's sending you.
So you look at your plant, and it has these lush, deep, dark green leaves. You'd think, hey, my plant is super healthy, right? Well, for a Cymbidium, that's actually a cry for help. It means it's getting just enough light to survive and make leaves, but nowhere near enough to produce flowers. This is probably the #1 reason they don't rebloom.
Then you have the other extreme. If the leaves are looking kind of yellowish or even to have these white, burnt-looking patches, that's a sunburn, plain and simple. You've gotten way too much harsh, direct sunlight, and that can really damage the plant.
And right here, this is the magic. In the middle of this chart is this sweet spot. We're aiming for this beautiful, vibrant apple green color. That's the color that tells you your plant is a happy little photosynthesis machine, storing up all the energy it needs for those incredible flower spikes. So just look at your plant, look at this chart, and you'll know exactly what to do.
All right, listen up, because this next part, this is it. This is without a doubt the single most important secret to getting your Cymbidium to bloom. You can get everything else perfect, but if you miss this, you will not get flowers. Period. This is the master key.
Here it is. That's the magic number. In the autumn, your orchid needs nighttime temperatures to consistently drop into this range. That's about 10 to 15 degrees Celsius. This is the absolute non-negotiable biological trigger that flips a switch inside the plant and tells it, okay, stop making leaves, it's time to make flowers.
And it's not just about being cold, it's about the difference between day and night. Think of it like this. The warm, bright days are like charging up a giant battery, building up all this energy. Then, that cool night and that temperature drop is the signal that tells the plant how to spend that energy. For a lot of us, the easiest way to do this is to just move the plant outside for the late summer and fall.
Okay, so we've got our big triggers, the light and the temperature. Now we just need to make sure we're giving the plant the right fuel at the right time. It's all about matching its food and water to what it's doing throughout the year.
Watering is actually pretty simple. In spring and summer, when it's actively growing, it's thirsty. You want to keep that mix consistently moist. Then, as fall rolls around and you're giving it that chill, you back off the water a little bit. And in winter, when it's in bloom, you cut back a lot. Keep it just barely moist, kind of like a wrung-out sponge. Overwatering in winter is a classic mistake.
Now, feeding, this is where you can really level up your game. In the spring, you give it high nitrogen to fuel all that new green growth. Through the summer, you switch to a nice balanced fertilizer. And then, this is so important, in the fall, you switch to what's called a bloom booster.
It's low in nitrogen and high in phosphorus, which is exactly the nutrient the plant needs to make flowers.
So you can do all this amazing work. You can get everything right, and then one simple little mistake can undo it all. Let's talk about how to protect your plant from threats you can see and the ones you can't.
Let's just be real for a second. The biggest, scariest threat to any orchid collection is something you can't even see: viruses. There are a couple of big ones, and the worst part? They are incurable, and they're spread from plant to plant by you, the grower. This is why you have to be almost obsessive about hygiene. You have to sterilize your cutting tools, like your shears or knives, between every single plant, no exceptions. A simple butane torch or a soak in a bleach solution is all it takes. This one simple habit is the only thing that will stop a silent disease from wiping out your entire collection.
Ugh, and has this ever happened to you? You finally get buds, you're so excited, and then they just turn yellow and fall off right before they open. It is so frustrating. That's called bud blast. It's just a sign of shock. Usually it's caused by something like gas from a fruit bowl, a sudden cold draft, or just being inconsistent with your water.
Okay, last but not least, a huge warning. You might hear people on the internet say, you should put cinnamon on orchid roots to fight fungus. Please, whatever you do not do this. Cinnamon is a desiccant. That means it aggressively dries things out. Putting it on living roots will destroy their ability to absorb water, basically killing your orchid by thirst. Never, ever put it on the roots.
Phew! Okay, we have covered a lot of ground. But you get it now. You have all the pieces of the code. So let's boil it all down to a simple formula: the 3 things that matter most.
If you only remember 3 things from this whole explainer, make it these. Number 1, get the light right. Use the leaves as your guide and aim for that apple green color. Number 2, engineer that autumn chill. That temperature drop at night is the master switch. And number 3, practice paranoid level hygiene. Sterilize everything. That's it. That's the formula for success.
You know, you started this wondering why your plant wouldn't bloom, but now you know the code. You understand what it needs, you can read its signals, and you know the exact triggers it's been waiting for. You're not just an orchid owner anymore. You're a cultivator. So the only question left is, what incredible beauty are you going to unlock this winter?